Okay, I have completed the setup on the bridge and didn't have to touch the nut. Did the intonation, and now I was going to see if I needed to put a shim in here, but oh, I already have a shim in here. I was thinking, well, maybe it's like the black one and I have to take some of the poly off the edge here. Well, they've already done it. Yeah, they've already done it. So, and they drilled out the holes in the body perfectly so that the screws do not bite. So I already have a shim here, and we're going to have to see what size shim it is, because I think it might need to be a little bit more to solve the problem that I have here with the high E saddle having to be so low, and the set screws so far up. I thought there might be a shim in there because I saw a small gap. 0.021, 0.020, 0.019. It depends on where. 0.22. Depends on where you're taking the measurement. So that might need to be a little bit more. I see they sanded this out smooth this time. That's good. Took that lip off, because I'm pretty sure there was one there. Otherwise they wouldn't have gone to the effort of sanding it. There is, poly, white pearl poly back here that has not been sanded right under where the shim was. I don't know if I can get that up there, but no, I can't. Not with the way that is. Yeah, it wasn't sanded off, so it's a little bit dimply, prickly right there, and not actually level. I think I might get my sanding block out and just kind of smooth those pippies off so that the shim will sit evenly across that area back there. As I've mentioned before, this tool is all the way from back when I did the first, Telecaster with GFS parts that I had to make to do things, especially it was for the neck pocket. It's about time I'm going to have to change the end piece here as well. It's coming down. Get right into this little crevice where the truss rod wheel sits. That dowel fits perfectly. I think that's a 3/4. Yeah, I think that's a 3/4 inch dowel. Fits perfectly in that cutout. Okay, that's better. That's flatter. Shim has a better chance now. I was measuring this shim in inches instead of millimeters. So it's like 51, 52. Thinking, wow, 51, 52. That's pretty big. So I'm going to look through my stuff here. I know I've got something that's about 0.60 something or other. Here's a 67, 152, 52, 33s, 31s, 20s, 24, that 24s. Here's a 62. This is 62. This is my old AOPA Pilots Association card. Makes a good shim. I got the 60, 52 to 60. Probably doesn't need a whole lot more. Okay, there's another 67. That's already cut. There's a 62, 61, 62, 61. What's this at? 62, right? Yeah. My OPA card is 62, 61. I've used that on a couple of guitars. I don't know if I have a piece of it. Oh, here's the other half of it. 62. I had it in something. And instead of just having a very thin little shim there right at the back, what I've done on some guitars is made it longer so that when it sits there, it makes a good slant. It brings it out half the pocket as opposed to just tipping one end. It makes more contact here and there, so you get only a tiny little gap in the middle of the pocket here where the heel is not really in full nice tight contact in the pocket. Just a gap at the line where this meets the bottom of the heel. Now I have a problem where this has pulled that up, so I'm going to shim that off so that it's flat and we won't have that problem of it being a higher shim than I want it to be. And that can be solved with just a regular small box cutter. Okay, I don't think that one's going to work, so we'll put that back there. I don't need any more of that one. And that was 67 and 62. We'll see. I think the 62 should really do the job. Oh yeah, and there's the, see, there's the piece that comes off. Now that can make a really big difference in how that shim sits. Garbage. Alright, let's see if we get that neck back in there without doing any damage. All of the insert ferrules fell out. Oh, I found some buffing compound. Oh yeah, and they scratched the poly in there. I guess to make that sit. Okay. The only place I found poly on the whole guitar, buffing compound. The only place. I glued these in on one guitar so that they'll stay there. If I have to take them off again, I might put a dab of glue under them when I put it back. And leave it there for a while so that it seals. Look at that. Goes through the body perfectly. Oh yeah, and I made this tool last night. The one I was talking about. And it goes underneath the bridge, and it has a little tab on it. They sell these for $2.50 on AliExpress, made of some kind of a poly, ethylene type hard stuff with a real rubber on the bottom. This is a dollar store steel. They say it's stainless steel, but I don't think so, because it sticks really good to magnets. So I cut it off at the 5th inch and bent it just behind the 4th inch to give me the tab. And it already has cork on the back of it. It comes like this. It was $1. you know, and all I had to do is cut that off with my tin snippers, take it to the sanding belt and smooth off all the edges. And I had to actually run a stone along the edges here to smooth them off. And I've got a tool to sit underneath my Wilkinson style bridge here, or the Floyd Roses when I want to loosen the strings. It's the MacGyver ingenuity. Okay, that's going to have to make a new hole. I'm going to snug up the upper part first, which I normally do, because I want them to be right down against the wood before I give the shim a chance to work at the bottom end of the heel. Just had to go through the plastic. Because that's a plastic card, I'm not worried too much about it being, you know, a form of cardboard that would eventually compress over time. For God's sakes, don't slip and ruin this perfect surface. Tight, tight, tight. All right, we'll flip it over. We'll go and tune it back up again and see how she goes with, oh yeah, see my strings are now sitting on the fretboard, which means I'm going to have to bring this up a little bit. So now I'm going to have to test to see where the height is that I'm looking for. The back of this thing is still off the body. That's good. So what I want to do is try to get the set screws in as close to the top of the saddles as possible so that they're not sticking out, number one, right? Because you don't want those things on your heel. And make sure that they're level, right? I'm going to start with the base side, just like this. So now I've brought up the 2-point post a little bit, which has caused the bridge to cant backwards. And right now, with that height, let me just put tension back on the string. At the right level. Let me measure where I am as far as height goes. Okay, so that's 1, 2, that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I need to change glasses. Those ones are not close up enough to read these little lines on this ruler. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's really close, right? 1, 2, 3, and maybe 3.5. I'm just going to give that a quarter turn. Okay. All right. I like that level. Good. Let's look at the other side. If you look at the 2 E strings first, then once you get those where you want them, then you just have to adjust the saddles to match the curvature of the fretboard, which I'm not sure what it is. I'll check it with my gauges if I can remember when I take the strings off and do the fretwork. I've checked the frets. I've got about 8 or 9 10 frets up the board that need touching up. All right, so I'm gonna bring, because these set screws are almost out of the saddle on that side. Ooh. I wonder if I have a little one I could put in there for this. Ain't that easier to work with than this Allen key. Alright, how high is that? Oh, I'm not up to pitch. Got a buzz. I might have to have a string tree, I don't know. The acoustics on this body are really dull. Yeah, the sound from just the strings acoustically, they do not pop off at all. But when you plug these pickups in, man, they just robustly produce sound. Where am I? It looks high. Yeah, that's high. So, because it is, it means I can take this down a little bit, since the saddle is up where I want it. I do have a buzz problem on the high E side because of the uneven frets. Okay, we're getting there. I wonder if I'm having a problem with the threads that cut into that post, that they're trying to, not going down. I looked last night on Amazon to see if I could find some posts for this. I can't. I might have to buy a new bridge, and I won't even know if the posts are the same threads for the inserts. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. That's why it's not going down. I put it back up. Yeah, I got a problem with the threads that it cut in that post. It's continuing to do it. Alright, it's at 3 there. Alright, so I got to go through and do all that on every string now. Alright, I finished doing them all. I did some readjustments on those posts as well, especially bringing down the treble bass side. And I did some truss rod adjustment to get the middle touch right. Hear the buzz? This fret, very high. And now the set screws are not all popping out the top of the bridge saddles. The only ones that are a little bit high are the E and the B. And since they're at the bottom, it doesn't affect when you're, basing yourself. But now that has caused my bridge to sit backwards and not level. It's canted back. Okay? It's lower here in the back. That would then be the fact that the springs are pulling it too hard down, and the claw would need to be released a little bit to get it back to a level position. And that would be the next thing to toy with, to see if releasing the claw or taking off a spring sometimes does it. will bring it back to level. I mean, it's not bad where it is. It doesn't go backwards anyway, really. It's off the body. It will work like that, but I'm just going to toy with those two screws, bring them out a little bit, or first I'll take off a spring and see if I can make it pop back where I want it, and then retune the strings. When you loosen this, then you got to put more tension on the strings as well to keep the in tune. So you release it a little bit, you tune up again. You release a little bit, you tune up again until this plate becomes flat with the body or parallel to the body. So that's a tedious bit of work, which I'm just going to do by myself off the camera. And the other thing I noticed is that my shim that I thought was going to be really good in here, it is. It's doing a pretty good job, and it's got the neck exactly where I wanted it. It's parallel. So the 62 was the right level. Was it 62 or 68? 68, I think. Millimeters, 0.68 millimeters. It's got the neck exactly right. It's perfectly, yeah. Look at that. It's straight across now. That's it. So with the adjustments for all of this stuff, that's good. So now it's just the springs and the claw. I'll let you know. Well, that didn't turn out to be too hard. I took out the middle spring first before doing anything and retuned, and I got it right back up flat. So that works. That works good. Exactly where it should be. So two springs. I took out the middle spring because it had the least tension on it of the other two. Like these two are further out, right? So between here and there and there and there, the middle one is a shorter distance. So there isn't even pressure on all the springs when you do it in this pyramid scheme. If you do them straight, 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 then you've got even pressure on all your strings straight across. If you keep your claw parallel to the insert here, to the cavity, so wherever you put your claw, you'll get even pressure across your springs. In this mode, the center one has the least amount of tension on it. So I pull that one out. That came out actually easy with, just a little pair of pliers. And it brought the block back out, square block there, nice gap right in the middle, and straight up and down. So that worked out good. All the saddles are smooth up here, perfect. So all I'm going to do now is when I take the neck off to do the work is I'm going to, because this shim, I left it so large, it's now created a gap over here, and I don't like that. And you can actually see the shim there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that back a little bit more, about, I'd say, 3/8 of an inch, so that it comes back to this body part here, maybe just a tad beyond. And then again, seat the upper screws first to bring that in, and then the other ones, and that should close the gap, and that should work fine. All right, so the next step is going to be cutting these off, dismantling the two pieces, deciding what I'm going to do with the electrics. I'm really thinking I'm going to leave it in the configuration that it is, but I am going to select a Fralin resistor. I also want to see what that tone cap is in there. I hope it's like a 22 or 33, then I won't have to change it. And we can leave that alone. I'll be able to see whether this is a B or an A pot. A pots are used a lot in the tone circuit, but B pots work just as well. Although I don't want to use A pots in the volume because they don't work as well for me in the volume position. An A pot, you turn it and nothing happens and nothing happens until finally you get down to the last third of the pot and all of a sudden everything occurs. I might also want to put a treble bleed on here. I'll see, because it's easy enough to do. And that'll make it just fine. So that would be the only things I think I'm toying with is Fralin, the capacitor check. I'm sure that's a 500 B. And then maybe just tacking a so a lot of wires over the pins 1 and 2. Yeah, just tacking a bleed circuit on the pot there. Anyway, I'll clean this up. I'm thinking I'm probably going to take that long jumper out of there too and just connect this directly to the pot, because there's plenty of line to be able to do that. Plenty. All right, we're going to close down this segment and wait until we get to the next parts. Oh, I checked the tuners. The tuners are absolutely secured in the neck, no problem. I'm going to weigh this thing also. I want to know what it weighs. So yeah, all of the mechanical stuff is pretty much set up here. So it's going to be a fret job and some electrics.